Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Creative Cranium. It's Friday night. We're going to talk about some scary stories tonight. Before we dive into the questions, let's take a quick second. We're going to go around the room and tell us who you are and what you're mostly known for. Jessica, tell us who you are.
Well, I'm Jessica. I guess, mostly known for Mary Shelley's School for Monsters, the graphic novel series. I also have a trilogy sci-fi plastic girl novel that people know me about from as well. Yeah, and I write a Monster of the Week Substack. So
Yeah,
I do
this is.
horror.
Thanks for coming to join us. This is a great topic for you, I think.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me. I love coming on the show.
Fish, welcome back. It's been a while for you and I, buddy.
Yeah, it's been a minute, man. I'm glad to be back. This is one of my favorite shows. I always learn a lot on this show. I enjoy watching.
I know who you are, the hardest working man in comics, but tell the viewers who you are
I
and what you're
am
known for.
Mr. Fish from Mr. Fish Comics. I am the fastest working man in indie comics. I'm almost finished with my 99th book in 6 years. I just crossed the 6-year threshold. So now I got to change my whole spiel. But I'm known for my own books like Green Zone, Life in the Blocks, Alice Lost in Wonderland, The Mighty Caw, The Cro-Magnon, and the one that just finished up on Kickstarter, Fish Tales, my anthology series.
Nice.
And it's still open for late pledges.
Congrats, buddy. Welcome back.
Glad to be here, man.
Madeline, let's go to you next. It's great to see you. As always, I've gotten a ton of great convention advice from you over the years. But for those of us who don't know who you are, tell us who you are and what you're known for.
I'm Madeline Holly Rosewing, and I'm primarily known for Boston Metaphysical Society and also the book Kickstarter for the Independent Creator.
Nice. Welcome back. It's really nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
Steve, welcome to the show. We met the first time through Jeffrey, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So first, man, welcome. Thanks for coming to the show. Tell us a little bit who you are and what you're known for.
All right. So I'm Steve Bino. I'm the co-creator, co-writer of Atrium. We currently have a Kickstarter for issues 4 and 5 that wraps up in a couple of days. And I'm also, I guess, the editorial director of Comics Asylum. And we cover comic books, toys, movies, TV, anything pop culture.
Nice. Well, thanks for coming. I appreciate you donating some of your time here tonight.
No, it's my pleasure. It's awesome to be here and to meet everybody.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. Let's dive right into some questions, right? I love scary stories. The first thing I would say is, where do you start? Where do you start with the scary story? Is it something in the script? Is it something they said? Jessica, let's start with you. What is your first step in making a scary story?
Oh man. Okay. Well, for me, yeah, right. It's usually one of two things. It either is a concept that, or some life societal issue or something that is really disturbing me and is disturbing, and I find a way in there through that and how to make that visceral and, just very in the flesh, not like cerebral. And then a lot of times it's an object or something just every day that could be creepy. Like an example being, there's this old creepy TV that was out on a hike that I go in, and I just obsessed about it for like a year until I figured out a story. And so I do think a lot of horror comes from a fear, like just that tickles in the back of my mind until I can figure out how to scare other people with it. So that's kind of where I start.
Yeah. I like the one about the inanimate object. I like stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Fish, how about you? Where do you start when you're trying to make something scary?
For me, it's a lot like she said. I like to look at like what things scare me and then try and break it down to what is it about that actually scares me? Like, what is it that makes that scary? Because when you boil it down to like the real basics, the real core, you usually get something that everybody's afraid of. Like afraid of that movement you saw out of the corner of your eye, or afraid that there's something, just out of sight that you can't turn your head fast enough to see, or, things like that everybody's afraid of. And then that's going to be a good story that everybody can enjoy. Even if you take it in weird directions from there, if you're starting from something that's universally scary, then that's a good place. Like, and sometimes, like, I'm working on a story right now that I'm going to put in issue in my anthology down the road. I am freaking scared of the Great Plains. They freak me out. And I go on these road trips all over the place going to cons, and I'm from Arkansas, so it's hills and trees everywhere. You can't see to the horizon. And when I pop over these, I guess you'd call them hills, mounds, lumps, I don't know what they are in Kansas, freaks me out to be able to see to the horizon in every direction. I feel like I'm going to fall into the sky. So coming to an anthology soon is going to be a story about that, because it scares the crap out of me.
Fall into the sky. That sounds like a Stephen King type of thing.
Yep. Yep.
So Madeline, how about you? The same question, like how do you start when you're going to make something scary? Is it based on something that scares you?
Usually it starts with setting and how that affects me, and possibly, well, actually affects the character, whoever the character is in this particular story, and what their fears are. And their fears won't necessarily be the same as mine. And so, yeah, it's, for me, I really try to emphasize the setting, and the setting can be, you know, I would call very traditional, the dark and stormy night, the creepy, you know, tree limbs, you know, that kind of thing. Or it could be
laboratories, got to have all that stuff.
Laboratories.
Right?
I mean, that's, you know, that's the very stereotypical, but to go beyond that, you could look at an office cubicle as being a scary setting. And for me, it really comes from character and what their fears are.
Yeah, I think you're kind of right about the character, because like the setting stuff, like I really like the stereotypical settings, you know, and the basement, and like, you know, you've seen 1,000 times, don't go in the basement, but then they go anyway.
Yeah.
Steve, how about you? So if you're trying to make something scary, where do you start? Is it the setting, the character? What's your step one?
For me, it's usually comes from a sense of a loss of control. So whether it's like the unknown or being unsure, and then putting characters either in settings or scenarios that basically have them not being able to get out of it in an easy manner, and then having that spiral and kind of ratchet up every little bit. And then because I draw a little bit, I think of things visually, whether you're like a lot of close-ups or having the character really small in the setting. And then obviously the amazing tropes that you get around this time of year with like leaves rustling and the wind kicking up, you know, those kind of things I go to.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, it's one tonight, right? It's the Hunter's Moon, isn't it tonight?
Is that tonight?
Maybe it was
Yeah,
last
it's
night.
Tonight or last night. It was.
I thought it was. It's what it was this week.
Oh, it might have been. It was last night, I think.
Yeah, it might be.
I think so too. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm a fan of scary stuff too. And when we look at some of the great horror writers, it kind of goes back to what Madeline said. Like it goes more to the characters than, you know, kind of like a combination between the two. So Jessica, do you have any kind of characters that stick out to you that would be like an influence, something that influenced your writing?
From like film or anything?
Yeah, make it broad.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's like, I don't know, as like a young writer, like what got me, you know, like, because I was reading Stephen King and Dean Koontz as a young writer.
I was too. That's probably a pretty good example, right?
Yeah, like, and Shirley Jackson and Anne Rice, you know, those were the things that I first read that were horror. But I mean, yeah, because I remember Shirley Jackson's short story, The Lottery, has always stuck with me. I know I know everyone's read that. So it's like that kind of taking like a pretty innocent seeming place and then making it very macabre and dark. I always liked that. But yeah, those were of my childhood, and what got me into horror were those writers. Now I have a lot of different influences now, but yeah.
Give us a couple of modern ones too. Give us some classic. Give us some modern.
I like Joe Hill a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
I like Stephen Graham Jones. He wrote the only Good Indians, and that was really good.
I was kind of ready to hate on Joe Hill.
Yeah. You couldn't. You scared me. I mean, there's some stuff, but it mostly is scary, right? Yeah. Victor Lavelle, right? Like he's really good. And I read Caitlin Starling just wrote a book. She didn't just write a book. I read a book by Caitlin Starling that really scared me called only like I think it's like only one gets to leave the room or something like that. I'm killing the title, and it was really creepy. So yeah, those are some of my recent ones. I don't want to say all the people, guys. I'm gonna stop.
Yeah. Well, and I want to hear more about characters too, not necessarily writers. So
yeah,
Fish,
I went to writers.
Yeah, and we'll come back around to you, but let's
Yeah.
talk about the characters again a little bit. Like, is there any that like that sort of stick out to you? Like, I would say, like, I mean, off the top of my head, like about Silence of the Lambs, right? There's Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
Like, that's a scary character, right? And I think it goes with sort of what Madeline was saying. Sometimes the horror kind of comes from the character more than the setting. Can you think any other characters that are particularly horrific?
Particularly horrific. I mean, recently, I mean, did everyone see Take My Hand recently? Did anyone see that one?
So.
The one where they put their hand in the creepy. Okay, no, because that character really was terrifying to me and interesting. I'm trying. You want me like a classic character?
One that comes to mind.
Could
be classic, could be modern.
Can someone else go? Because I'm thinking.
Yeah, go ahead, Fish. Yeah, go ahead, Fish. What do you got?
Man, I mean,
I'll give another one. Ready? And remember, I lean a little bit towards sci-fi, but when you talk about the character, like the movie The Predator, I think that's a pretty good one because really the story is about the jungle. It's not really about the alien world, but here's this well-developed alien. You got a lot of terror that comes from it. That's a little bit more.
And that's a good one because the recent one, Prey, the girl character in that.
Yeah, I thought that was great, by the way.
Phenomenal character. Yeah. And you go through that whole thing with her, and it's like really good. Yeah.
Fish, how about you? You got one? What's your character?
Oh man, like the first Alien movie.
Oh yeah,
I love because it's like it's mystery, it's horror, it's it was so out of the box. I freaking love that. One of the things that I hold up oddly as something I want to try and achieve is the Blair Witch Project because
that's a good one too.
Because like when I was growing up reading horror novels and stuff, I really got into Clive Barker and like the grotesque and the and it shows up in some of the scary books that I do. There's lots of intestines and stuff, but like there's none of that in there. There's no blood, there's no gore, there's no monster wearing a hockey mask or anything. The scariest things are piles of sticks and a dude standing in the corner, and it was absolutely terrifying at the time. And I love that. That's what I want to try and accomplish. Like they tapped into those things that just made you afraid. And you're more afraid of what you can't see than showing you, ooh, look how, ooga booga, I'm so scary. Like, that is what I want to do. I want to make you scream because you saw a guy standing in the corner. That's something that I strive to achieve someday.
And they really did that with character too. As much as people ripped on that one girl actress, which I thought was undeserved. Undeserved.
Which one? In Blair Witch? They did?
In Blair Witch, I think she got a lot of
okay, gotcha.
But I agree with you, Fish. It was like they just pulled you into that story and they were a little dumb, but mostly they had reactions that were what we would all have in the scenario.
It's so believable. You can understand why they would be so mad, even mad enough to do something stupid like throw the map away. And
that's a good example too of that coming from the character more so than because honestly the settings aren't too scary in Blair Witch. I mean, they're scary in the they're so normal, I guess, in a way is that they're scary. So, Madeline, how about you? You got any characters in particular that stand out to you as
scary? Absolutely. It's an old X-Files episode. Because to me, what's always scary is the mundane. And, things that you just wouldn't even think would be an issue ever. But it's the one where Scully is stalked and eventually kidnapped by I think he was a funeral director or something, but he was into fetishes. And so he would ask her questions while she was tied up, like, and I remember this so clearly. It's like, what kind of shampoo do you use? Do you color your hair? because his whole thing, the beginning, was to wash your hair and everything. And this is such an innocuous thing, but this guy is so freaking scary. And yeah, I mean,
It does sound
I'm
creepy.
never much for the blood and guts and everything as being scary. But it's things like that where it's just kind of slowly creeps up on you until it's too late to realize that, oh, we have a problem here.
Mm-hmm.
Sort
And
of
that's
like
it, though. You can take anything and crank it up to 11 and make it
Yeah.
scary. You know, like
Yeah.
if that guy that's casually standing by you in the break room at work gets a little closer and a little closer until he's like right up in your space and he's like, what toothpaste is that? Like, that's freaking scary. Like,
Yeah.
you can take
That was
anything
pretty
and
scary. Yeah.
take it there.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So, Steve, how about you? It's your turn. What do you got for in the way of memorable,
what?
scary characters?
It's interesting because I was, kind of scraping the back of my memory to see if I can come up with someone. And then both Fish and Madeline jump-started my memory. So I'm going to go with Fish on Alien because I just remembered as a kid.
That is a good one.
Like,
Yeah.
and the thing about it is, those movies kind of, they kind of shift genres a little bit. And that first one is a straight out horror. And the fact that you don't see the xenomorph is one of the things that gets you kind of like, looking through your fingers when you're watching it. And for Madeline's point with the X-Files, it's the hillbilly family in that episode.
Oh my God, yes.
Where the mother's under the bed.
Oh,
Yep, I know.
My
yeah.
Lord, when
Oh.
they pull her out, it's like, what is going on? And like with all the Smoking Man stuff, all the aliens, to me, that's the scariest X-File episode for sure.
That is
Oh,
scary.
yeah.
That was. I'd forgotten about that one. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, that one's just as terrifying.
Yeah. But as a kid, I remember like Damien, the first Omen movie, when the dogs are barking in the cemetery, or maybe I'm misremembering it. And then reading some of Stephen King's early stuff with Cujo.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great example too, Steve.
I was not
because
a dog
really,
fan as a
the
kid.
setting is just
Cujo.
the car, right? Most of it.
And Christine
It's
the
not-
car, yeah.
It's the characters they're just in such a jam. That's why it's scary.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure. Yeah, let me ask you this question. You mentioned The Omen, okay? And I'm a fan of movies like The Omen and The Exorcist and kind of like, I guess you'd say this satanic possession movies, right?
Yeah.
Like to some people, they're not maybe particularly scary. And I guess my question is, do you think you have to be religious to find that stuff scary? Or is it universally scary? Like Jessica, we'll start with you.
Lots
First off,
of people
do
that
you think
aren't
demons are
religious
scary?
way more afraid of it. Like, I know lots of people that have never gone to church that are way more afraid of it than people that go to church. So it's not, there's not hand in hand.
I mean, I'm always more afraid of those movies that involve powers and demon stuff that has like a more abusive situation happening, like Carrie, where where religion is played into it, and it creates a dynamic as far as her mother and everything like that.
Yeah,
but like,
remember.
I don't, as far as a demon possession, I mean, I thought The Exorcist was terrifying. I was raised really religiously, so it's hard for me to say if you have to be, but I think if the movie does the job and convinces you that it's possible, you can't ever say, you can't say there aren't demons, because you can't really prove that there aren't demons. So if a movie or a story can convince you that it's possible there are demons, and then you start, like, that's why almost all these movies start with like a character who doesn't believe it. Like it's the best demon movies are when the main character is getting pulled into it, doesn't believe in it, and then slowly is being forced to believe it, because you can only deny what your eyes see so much, and so that at some point you have to say, all right, there's probably the most likely, I'm trying to think of a good movie where it's the atheist character or the character who's lost their faith.
Well,
it's always a character who's lost their faith, and it's like all of the ones, right?
This kind of fits into the character development part. It was Signs, which is the Mel Gibson in the corn.
Yeah.
And he was a pastor, remember, and he had lost his faith. And that's probably a good example because, of course, it's aliens. It didn't have anything to do really with
I would have to beg to agree here. Anything by Shyamalan is not a good example.
Because he cheats. He cheats. No.
I thought he had a good reveal in
No.
that movie where the alien walked into the birthday party or whatever. That's when
I feel like Signs was a great movie until they tried to
It
force
was-
that ending, and I was like, "Why did you do that with the wife?" And I was like,
Yeah,
"Why?"
the ending was a great disappointment. And sorry, but I remember early in his career there was someone started a fund to send Shyamalan to film school. So,
ouch.
Ow.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think they're that bad.
I will say
Oh.
I just watched Watchers, his latest one, right? With I mean, I can't say anything, but the one where
Yeah.
they're in the middle of the woods in a.
well, his daughter wrote.
His daughter wrote that, and
His daughter wrote. I think he executive produced.
Okay, so maybe he didn't write it, and so that's.
Yeah, he didn't write it.
I'm not
Maybe
saying
she's
perfect.
Maybe
but
she's better than him.
Yeah, it was still some of the stuff, but I mean, it was an interesting kind of take on a folklore that is my thing, but I don't want to ruin the movie, so I have to stop talking.
Well, let's see if we can change directions. I tried to see if there were some memorable characters, but I latched on to something that Madeline said, which is it isn't always about the blood and guts, right? Like the example I'd use is like the shark in Jaws. You almost never saw him, but he was terrifying, right? And he had the dum dum dum. Can you think of any? We mentioned Alien, which is kind of one. You didn't see that Alien too much. But I guess, Steve, I'll start with you. Do you remember any creatures that weren't really shown too much, but it still made an impact on you?
This one might actually elicit some laughter, but Pumpkinhead.
Oh, it scared me so bad.
Yeah. Pumpkinhead, I can't lie. There was something about the creature design, and and the scariest thing about it was its silhouette.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
It was just a freaky silhouette. And like I'm from comics, right? I love comics. I've read them growing up. So you see a whole bunch of stuff. So like Freddy and Pinhead and all those kind of characters didn't really do anything to me.
That's a good answer. I didn't see that one coming.
But Pumpkinhead, man, and the name alone, which is kind of a ridiculous name, and then you factor in like how creepy it is, and then the silhouette, that does it. That did it for me.
I also watched it way too young. But,
yeah.
I almost brought up Pumpkinhead earlier because I was like, God, Pumpkinhead scared me. I don't know, and I don't even know why because I can't even remember most of the movie. But I was
Jessica, what's your pick for a creature or a character that you didn't see very much, but it was still scary?
It's like I would say, like for me, a lot of these newer movies, like. You do eventually see the Quiet Place monsters, but they do such a good job.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Building it up. And
I think they're pretty good. I like those movies.
And then even The Silence, which was also similar to The Quiet Place, and The Mist.
A little too similar, but that movie was good.
Yeah,
too.
it was still good. It had some other creepy stuff going on. The Mist was interesting to me.
I'm a fan of that one too.
And then the one with Sandra Bullock was even
Bird Box.
The Bird Box one.
Yeah.
So those are more modern, but I think they did a really good job.
No, those are great examples.
Yeah.
Those are all real good ones. How about you, Fish? You got any examples of creatures or characters that were scary that we didn't see too much of? I mentioned one was Cloverfield, the Cloverfield monster.
Oh, yeah. Cloverfield.
Oh, that's a good one.
Go ahead, Fish. It's all you, buddy.
One of my favorites that I think about a lot, probably too much, is the thing in the woods in the Evil Dead movies, where basically the camera's just zipping through the woods at you, and you never see what it is that's coming at you. And I mean, you see lots of other things in there, but you never that shot through the woods still freaks me out, and I love it. I think about it all the time.
That's a pretty good one. Let's see. Who did I hear? Madeline? Madeline, did I get your creature? I want a creature that you don't see very much, but still left a memorable impression on you.
Well, everyone has brought up so many great suggestions here that I'm going to pivot a little bit here.
All right, let's hear it.
And say that the scariest things are ones that are hiding in plain sight. And Get Out is a perfect example of that. It was Get Out. To me, was like one of the most perfect movies I've ever watched, from start to finish. Completely clean, completely. You didn't really know what was going on, but then to slowly discover that these humans, and then the personalities inside some of the humans, are obviously somebody else. But I mean, that was the scary part as you begin to realize what they were doing to these young men and women of color. And yeah, I was, and my husband's not a horror fan at all. And I kept saying like, no, everyone's saying this is great. We got to go watch this. And we sat down and watched it. Like, oh yeah, this was great.
That's a good pick. That's a good pick. So, did I get everyone's creature? Steve, did I get your creature?
Yeah, Pumpkinhead.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So now I want to switch back off of creatures and characters onto settings a little bit. Because I think we kind of made the point a little bit that the horror comes from the characters. But there's also a couple of settings that are really good, that are kind of unforgettable, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to use the example for my setting. I think that I would use something like maybe the early Walking Dead series, where they're outside of the zombie-strewn Atlanta, Georgia, I guess it is. That's a pretty good one for me. Is there any settings, Jessica, that come to your mind when you're making scarier stories?
I mean, there's so many settings, but I mean, I'm going to go with the classic because I'm a big fan of the haunted house, the Victorian, scary place to go, or just even an abandoned house or a space where a group of people go and all hell breaks loose, and it just never ever gets old. Like, I mean, and just an example of that being like The Haunting of Hill House. Like, it's been a story, it's been a movie, it's an excellent series by Mike Flanagan, who does setting pretty much better than anybody I know. I think. But
I love those. I love a good haunted house setting. That's second to none. And we made another interesting point, which is we keep mentioning the alien movies. Like, who would have thought that the haunted house setting works so well in outer space?
Yes.
Right? Mr. Fish, how about you? You got a favorite horror?
One of my favorites, and it just mostly because it creeps me out in real life, are like those rundown little towns that you can't understand how they're still there. And like all the stores are gone, and but there's still a couple of people living in those little houses. Those places creep me out. But also, like, if I were to be doing the scary story, it would be like either weird empty places, like the empty offices in the back of the office building, that are always just kind of dark and hollow, and or like back alleys, or like busy cities where there's just so many people, you could be screaming bloody murder and nobody would care. And, where just anything could happen to you and people would walk by and not care because, they got their own stuff to do. Yeah. And those places scare the crap out of me. So that's what I would want.
Gotcha. The mundane that came up earlier. That's really the real horrors. Yeah. Madeline, how about you? Do you have a favorite horror? What's your go-to horror scenario and setting?
Probably an antique store. Because an antique store gives you so many possibilities of things that are cute, and you've got your Hummel figurines, which my grandmother used to collect, and I think, oh my God, I had
an
no idea.
Uncle that did that.
But
and that's a little creepy too.
Those are awful.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, Hummel figurines are creepy. Grandma was creepy. Yeah. But yeah, there's so many things that you can play on in an antique store. And what's interesting now, or a thrift store, if you go into a thrift store, depending on what city you go into, you can go, say if you're in Palm Springs or Palm Desert, if you go to a thrift store there, you find really high-end stuff. And that could bring a whole different level of horror than if you're going to someplace less affluent, which has different items there.
That just gave me a whole story idea.
Oh yeah, and then what if you've got something that doesn't quite fit, that's in one or the other, and you can play with that. So
Gotcha. Steve, how about you? Do you have a favorite setting as far as scary stories go?
You know what? Going back to sci-fi and the spaceship as a haunted house motif. I love that.
Good. I want some more spaceships. I'm a spaceship.
Right. And I'm thinking of like, obviously Alien, the first one, or I guess all of them do it. But then Sunshine, I think it was a 2007 film with Cillian Murphy. That's
By
a
any
great
chance,
one.
are you a gamer at all?
No,
Okay.
I'm not a gamer.
Some of the people recommended Dead Space to me, which is a little
okay.
bit like your.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I didn't think too much of it. That was one man's opinion. But
Right.
generally speaking, I am a proponent of outer space terror,
Right.
unspeakable monstrosity. I'm in.
and the thing about it is that where those work, and I guess the haunted house works as well too, is like you have isolation, and then they have the feeling of being trapped, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like there's almost like you're in a labyrinth when you're in a spaceship, and it's an alien kind of setting, and then you're not quite sure what's going around the corner. And then the cool thing about those kind of films is they can play with a whole bunch of tropes and weird noises and sounds and lighting. That all works. But I think if you're going for a simpler kind of setting, basements and attics. There's something about when you're a kid going into the basement and it's dark, because that's usually where you find the creepy crawlies.
I love both of those.
Whatever.
I love both of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify, I don't write haunted house. I enjoy going to other people's versions of haunted houses. I usually do nature. I usually like to go out into the wild and be in an isolated nature setting. I didn't want to lead people astray. I don't have any haunted house stories.
Then have you watched Yellow Jackets?
I haven't. It's on my list of. I gotta sit down and watch Yellow Jackets.
Oh my god!
Don't worry, I'm gonna watch it. It's
so good.
That's what that starts with the mundane,
mm-hmm.
and then goes way over here.
Hard left.
Yeah.
Hard left.
I got it.
Hard
I know
left.
it's on my husband's and my list. We got to get to it.
It's very good. You will love it because it's probably one of the few TV shows where the cast is predominantly women, both young and middle-aged, who are intelligent, complex, and deeply flawed.
Yeah.
That's good.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yellow
You'll love
Jackets.
Yellow Jackets.
And what's it on, Madeline?
It's started on Showtime. They have the first season up on Netflix. But if you want season 2, I think you got to go pay for it somewhere, either on Hulu or Prime. But they have been renewed. They are doing season 3. So it is moving forward.
Well, yeah, and I got one more question I want to ask you guys before I want to see what you guys are making. But one of the things that we talked about, there's different types of endings in scary stories. And one of the popular types of ending is what they call the nihilism ending, right? The nihilist ending, which is like the end of Night of the Living Dead, the hero gets shot, or the end of The Mist. Like, by the way, I'm going to not try to give spoilers away. Some of these movies are 20 years old.
Yeah, I don't know about Mist. Don't spoil Mist.
Really? That's 2007.
No, I know.
Yeah.
You can spoil it. I'm just...
Okay, yeah. So I'm not trying to spoil the movie necessarily, but I'm trying to make sure we understand what the question is, which is, do you like nihilistic endings? Jessica, you can go first.
I know it's a yes/no answer because most of the time, no. I like to feel like there's some hope. I'm not a big fan of a entity or thing that cannot be beaten ever. I mean, The Mist has a great ending, but I don't like to leave the theater feeling completely devastated. Like, which is why I like Get Out. I'm pretty devastated, but you have your moment. The ending.
Like,
and so I would say Take My Hand was one of my favorite horror movies recently, but I would say it has a very kind of nihilist.
And by the way, we are still talking about it. It is 17 years later. We're still talking about it. So there's something to be said for it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I prefer a little bit of hope in the end.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of my favorite.
I think I might be a little like you. I like a little bit of hope in there also. Fish, how about you, buddy? Nihilistic endings.
It always bugs me when things work out in the end and you get out by the skin of your teeth. And, when the 13-year-old kids like figure out how to beat like literal Satan that's possessing their house and get out. I'm like, seriously, what are the chances that a
I mean,
13-year-old
they're
kid,
more likely than us, probably.
like, unless it was in a letter in a penthouse, a 13-year-old boy ain't reading nothing, nowhere getting any information about
Yeah.
nothing. Like, it's,
Kicked a
I don't
wrath
buy
of
it.
women.
It takes me out of it. You like, you know, when they always figure it out. They always figure out that, oh, I just happen to have the magic thing in my pocket all along, and you know,
I
I'd
don't
rather
think it's,
see everybody die.
I don't
than
think it's
see-
that you. I don't think it's that I like a simple ending and where everything's wrapped up neatly. I think everyone should have lost something in the horror movie.
Yeah.
See,
think
I
you should-
love.
Well,
I love a
let
good
me be a hair
tragic
more
ending
specific.
where nobody,
The ones that I mean
nobody
are
really
specifically where they, hey, we're going to make it, and they escape, and they get there, and the sun comes up, and then tragedy strikes. This is the ones that I'm talking about.
wins.
Oh,
See,
okay.
I like tragic. Nobody wins. Like,
So you
know,
like it?
Nobody
You
comes
like
out
it.
happy.
Okay.
You know, maybe you beat the monster, but he killed you too, or like, you know, that's the kind of stuff that I like.
So you like it dark.
Yeah, I do. I mean, it comes off as more believable to me.
I think you're offering more hope than Jessica did.
Well, I mean,
Jessica had some hope. How about let's hear from Madeline. Madeline, how about you? Nihilistic endings, yay or nay?
I would say nay, but I like to have a balance. Whereas, like in Train to Busan, you
Oh.
have
yes.
yeah. If you've traveled with, they've gone through so much, and I don't know if it's been out for a while, but so I hope I'm not spoiling it for anybody. But then you have the lead male character who's gone through this huge character arc through this whole thing, which is one of the things that makes it so great. And then watching what happens to him, and then at the very end, you're going like, "Oh no, no, no! They're going to shoot the woman and the girl," until very aptly she starts singing the song that she was going to sing for her father at the recital he never showed up at. And it all came around so beautifully. So even though we lost this guy who we'd been rooting for through the whole movie, we still had some hope at the end.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what
Okay.
I'm yeah.
Yeah. So you've got some balance there, and so it's really, well, Train to Busan has a lot of historical meaning to the Korean people too. So
Does it? I didn't know that.
yeah, Last Train to Busan, I believe has to do with the Korean War or World War II. I guess someone may correct me on that, as they were fleeing. Someone's going to go look that up. But yeah, it has actual meaning to the Korean people of the Last Train to Busan on a historical level. So when they start talking about making an American remake, it's like,
Touchy.
no,
Yeah.
no, don't do that. That's
By
stupid.
the way, look how good the Shogun remake was. Madeline, you
Oh
and
my
I talked
God.
about
Hey,
this.
That was
historical.
beautiful.
Did you love that? I
Beautiful.
did too. So,
Yeah.
and hey,
Oh.
I didn't mean to skip Steve. I'm sorry. I got to hear from you on nihilistic endings, yay or nay.
No, I'm down with it. Like, horror is what it is, right? So
Well, so we're divided
yeah.
divided right down the middle.
I think there's plenty of nihilistic endings that I've enjoyed. I just like, because it's hard to say one or the other, but I just do prefer a little hope. Yeah.
But a classic example, because I wouldn't consider this horror, it's more sci-fi. But like at the end of Planet of the Apes, right? Like that's one of those ones
Oh
where you're
yeah.
like, what?
Yeah, that's
Kind of thing?
yeah.
Or even like Soylent Green, and you realize what's going on throughout the whole story. Like those kind of twists where you think you've won, but then you haven't. Those are, to me, the best.
Yeah, I love all those. By the way,
Yeah.
great stuff.
Yeah,
we could do a whole list on the sci-fi ones that are disturbing. Hey Grant, good to see you. Sorry, I'll get to some comments. I got behind on the comments.
I mean, we didn't even talk about Event Horizon or Mouth of Madness, which is like a whole
right. Yeah, they only get more disturbing as you go.
But you did bring up Sunshine, Steve, so it was in the same kind of.
Yeah, Sunshine is mad disturbing.
I was glad to see somebody earlier gave Clive Barker a shout out.
Well,
of course, yeah.
The Meat Train movie was really good. The one did you guys watch that? I think it was Bradley Cooper before he was famous.
Which one was this?
Isn't Clive Barker the Meat Train one? Isn't that one of his short stories?
Yeah, that's
No.
I know what you're
Clive
talking
Barker,
about.
right? That was a really good horror movie. If you guys haven't watched it,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Grant,
doing
what
it
we
justice.
meant for the nihilistic was like in Night of the Living Dead, where you're rooting for the character the whole time, and then you think he's run to safety, and he comes up over the grassy knoll and they shoot him. Hey, I got one. So the good guy gets killed in like the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clive Barker, his books are a little bit more disturbing than some of the ones we've seen.
They
here.
are straight up gross.
They're really gory. Well, they did. It was Midnight Meat Train. I had to look it up because my brain. And Bradley Cooper's in it before he's a star. And it's really fun, actually, if you guys haven't seen it. It's probably nihilist, though.
Yeah. Hey, I love talking about horror materials with you guys, and I love to hear about what you're making. So, Jessica, I'd like to hear a little bit about Mary Shelley's School for Monsters. I'm a fan of it. I backed this book. Hey, and there's a video too if you want me to play the video.
Well, it's 2 minutes, so we don't have to play it. It's okay.
Oh, you want to talk us through it and I'll scroll down?
Oh, yeah, sure. That's fine.
Why don't we start with this? Yeah, tell us a little bit about what it is and who will love this gorgeous looking.
Well, it's not nihilist, guys, just so you know. And there's no gore because you can read it with your kids. But it does get into some heavy issues. So the first book was La Llorona and the Machine. So basically the idea is that it's a supernatural version of Mary Shelley. And she has formed a school for monsters. And they act kind of like the X-Men. They go out to rescue other monsters. So in the first book of the series, they rescue La Llorona. You get introduced to the big bad, Dr. M, who is inspired by Dr. Moreau. And they realize in the first book he's still alive. And they thought they had killed him. And so in the second book called The Killing Stone, which is what we are backing on Kickstarter right now, they have to go to Japan and return to figure out what happened when they tried to they tried to trap Dr. M in the Killing Stone, which is actually a stone in Japan that the locals and folklore believe that there's a demon in it. And they accidentally trapped him in there with a friend, Tamamo no Me, the nine-tailed fox. And
Nice.
And the drama of this story comes out of that. And so now they have to figure out how to make amends with her, and she's furious and very powerful. So a lot of it's about what's forgivable, what's not forgivable. There's going to be an Onryo, a grudge spirit or a vengeful spirit, Nari, who's a new student, and she's going to help them resolve this or try to resolve this issue and go on this mission with them. So, you're all into the rewards and I'm still talking about the story.
It's okay. Yeah,
but
I love hearing about it.
Yeah,
this is a good series.
It's a graphic novel series. I'm really excited. Just got the last page of art this last week and the lettering is halfway done. So I'm super excited for it. The campaign's going great. We funded this week and now we're on to stretch goals.
Congrats.
I'm a big fan of this tier that you stopped on right here, so I could talk about it. Oh, you already left. We're doing some fun tiers. This is our Hollywood School for a Holiday School for Monsters gift set, which is the first book, and it's got all the goodies, and that goes out by Christmas or whatever winter holiday you celebrate. That's the one that goes out in December. The rest isn't going to come out till May, the next book. But yeah, and there's a catch-up tier, and there's a cool Kitsune enamel glow-in-the-dark pin. There's the gang. That's the crew.
Very cool.
Yeah. And that's, he's a new character. He's a firefox. And he's got the abilities to light up the sky, travel through different universes, and transformation. So he's a new monster that we deal with in this one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
Art's
back
amazing.
with confidence. There you go. Mary Shelley's School for Monsters. This is
Thanks.
a terrific product. I think that looks like a gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Anna Weischek, I don't know if I said her name out loud, so I want to make sure. Anna Weischek is the wonderful artist who designed Eno and did the art there and did the art for the book and on the cover and everything.
I am a fan of Caw, the Cro-Magnon. I think it's the coolest title. I love the art. I love the writing. It's a lot of fun. Tell us a little bit about what's going on, Mr. Fish.
This is my Patreon where you can sign up. $5 a month gets you a new digital comic every month. $10 gets you a new physical comic every month shipped to your door. Like my Patreon backers got issue 2 of Fishtails.
Here, go ahead, hold that up. I'll give you a solo layout.
I was going to say Fishtails, it just closed on Kickstarter. Late pledges are still open at gomrfish.com. My Patreon backers got this months ago, and it's got short stories in it from Alice Lost in Wonderland. It's got a short story in it from the world of the Mighty Caw. It's got all that stuff. But if you subscribe on my Patreon, you get a new book every month. Right now, we're going through the Green Zone series, which I had never sent out to my backers yet. And so this month's book will be issue 3, and then the source book, and then the brand new issue 4 will go out to my Patreon backers first at Christmas. And then it'll go to Kickstarter next year, and for the trade and the collected, all that with all the extra goodies and stuff. But this is where Caw the Cro-Magnon was born. Like, he was born for this Patreon, and which is one of the reasons that he's so fun and action packed and to the point. Was, you know, wanted to be sure there was something I could get out every month, no matter what else I was doing. And it's been a lot of fun. It sounded crazy when I told people I was going to start doing a book a month, but we just passed 14 months and I've shipped out 15 books. So I've been putting my money where my mouth is, and it's been a new book every month, and it will continue to be as long as I can keep cranking them out.
Congrats to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
These are great. I particularly enjoyed, well, I have Green Zone too, now that you mention it, but I particularly enjoyed Caw the Cro-Magnon. I just love the whole aesthetic of it.
I'm a Caw fan too. I like Caw.
He's just so much fun to write. He's just so violent, and the book got bloodier than I expected. I got to admit, like, I tend to keep my stuff a little bit more on the, like, you know, PG-13 side.
Yeah.
I got a little more NC-17 than I expected.
It works here. It works here, I think.
But when you're the deadliest warrior in the galaxy, like, what are you going to do with a giant sword in your hand and a bunch of snake men in front of you? You're going to get to chopping.
Hey, let's take a look at our rock star here. This is Boston
Absolutely.
Metaphysical Society. I'm a backer on this book too. Consistently has great characters, great storylines. I'm a fan.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Madeline,
Thank you.
Can you walk us through this a little bit? Tell us.
Sure. To give everyone the short pitch, it's about an ex-Pinkerton detective, a spirit photographer, and a genius scientist who battles supernatural forces in late 1800s Boston. This Kickstarter is for a special edition of Volume 2, where I've compiled our previously published 4 sequels, plus the new stuff is we have pinup art, which some people have probably never seen, and a brand new 10-page story with art by Claudia Balboni. The original artist for the 4 sequels was the wonderful Gwen Tavares. And those are the covers of the original sequels, which Gwen did as well. And the first 3 pages.
Oh, I like the colored lettering here.
Yeah, Troy Pateri is a letterer, and he just decided to do that when we first started all those years ago. And it's just worked out really well. It just, it really works with the color tone and everything.
Yeah.
And this is the first page of the Ghost Collector, which is the 10-page. Also, you can get the original, the special edition Volume 1 hardcover. That's what that is. We did a Kickstarter earlier this year for that. So you can get both if you're missing both. Softback is also available. And I know you ran through our Art Deco owl bookmark.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which actually you can get now in, you can do it as an add-on, as a set, or singly in brass, black stainless steel, and copper. And these are all the various things you can add on or part of the reward tiers. The audio drama, the first 2 issues of Mystery at Pikes Peak. Some of the larger, more expensive reward tiers also include PDFs of some short stories that aren't really available unless they were in anthologies, which I don't think are in print anymore. So, but yeah, you can get digital bundles. You can get hard copies, softback, hardback, the novel, the anthology, and
I
we
really
have a
do like
wide.
that bookmark. That's really neat.
Yeah, that was done by Alejandro Lee. He's done all of my metal bookmarks and done a tremendous job. So I kind of go like, hey, why don't I've been doing an owl theme for both the hardback. So I said, let's do like an Art Deco kind of thing this time. And so, yeah, that's all of my Kickstarters have some sort of theme to it. So here we are.
Nice. Congrats, Madeline. This is beautiful.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
these are
great.
nice. You have a very high level of quality to these products. Back with confidence. Come on, call to action. Come over right now and take a look at this one. That's on Kickstarter.
Yeah, we're on for 13 more days. But the bookmarks are limited, so yeah, we did add a new character as part of the team. You see her there. Her name is Alma Bryant, and she's introduced in the second sequel called The Spirit of Rebellion. And she eventually becomes part of the team.
I like the subtlety of your color palette.
Mhm.
That's all Gwen. That's all Gwen.
Mm,
She did a great job.
very cool stuff.
You have all the coolest swag. I'm always so jealous.
Well, we work at it, and I know I have to admit that I got the idea of the metal bookmarks from Mike Shea of Miskatonic High, because I saw that he had done one with a tentacle, and I'm like, this is so cool. And so I talked to him, and he told me where to go, and I just went crazy.
Mhm.
And
Got
yes,
some
we are on
stretch goals.
we're up to our fourth stretch goal. We made 4 stretch goals. So right now, anyone who pledges to a reward will get an additional 12 digital comics. And the hardback will now come with a hunter green satin bookmark and 2-color foil embossing.
Nice.
It's a
Well, I
great
sure
campaign.
wish you every success, Madeline.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah,
with
this is
Boston
awesome.
Metaphysical. Yeah, it's a great project, man. It really is a good
Oh
one.
man,
Can't recommend it strongly enough.
I'm so envious. Madeline's who I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
I have nothing but respect for everything she's been doing.
Well, and
Thank you
Madeline
so
wrote the
much.
book too on, she didn't mention it tonight, but she wrote a book
Literally.
on how to, on how to write the, have a successful-
Kickstarter vinegar.
yeah. Always
Yeah, I
valuable
will say
information.
it needs to be updated. The basic strategies are the same for anybody. They're still good, but as Kickstarter has evolved, I've not updated how the platform has changed.
Thanks for the update.
Anyway,
Now
we'll
we
get
can
on to
take a look at
Steve.
Atrium.
Steve, yeah.
Atrium 1 to 5, an action horror thriller. So, Steve, walk us through this a little bit, man. Here we are talking about horror, and this is obviously the juice right here.
Yeah, so Atrium is a 5-issue miniseries that I co-created and co-wrote with Peter Van Horn, and it was kickstarted in, I guess, the fall of last year for issue 1, and then we successfully kickstarted issues 2 and 3, and we put them together as one because we wanted to save shipping for our backers. And now we're wrapping up the series with issues 4 and 5, and I think it ends on Monday, if I'm not mistaken. And it's about 2 paramedics, Naomi and Darnell, who are tasked with delivering a donor heart to a special but mysterious patient. En route, they and their security detail are intercepted by a group of deadly assassins who happen to be vampires.
All right. Now we're talking.
Yeah, so it's got a little bit of like transporter heat, lots of action, lots of gore, lots of blood, and we're having a good time with it. We've been able to hit the con season and gone to a few conventions here in Toronto and the surrounding area. We were in Buffalo earlier this year, and the response has been fantastic. Our
Yeah,
artist,
Steve, this looks good, man.
oh, thank you. Our artist, Lucas Falapi, is out of Sao Paulo, Brazil, and he's done a great job representing the script and bringing it to life. And we're really lucky that our colorists are Nikos Koutsas and Mike Torres out of Greece, and they actually color for Savage Dragon for Image Comics. So you're currently looking at the preview pages for issue 4. They're yet to be colored, but I just got an email before I joined you all, and issue 5 is done. And so it's just a matter of getting it to the colorist and the letterer, and we should be done probably in another 15, 20 days.
Nice. Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, and you're a teacher too, Steve.
Retired teacher, yes. So
Oh,
I taught
appreciate that.
here in Toronto for about 20 years, but I was always doing comics on the side. And then shortly, I guess before COVID or after COVID, I decided to retire and do this full time.
Oh, awesome.
Thank you.
It looks good, man. I wish you every success with it.
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate that.
Yeah. Hopefully we can pick up some backers here for you guys tonight.
Yeah, that'd be great. No, we're fully funded. And, we're just looking to see if we can get to some stretch goals. But we wouldn't be where we are without our backers. Our backers have been fantastic in all 3 campaigns. And we're over the moon with what we've been able to achieve so far.
Yeah, I like your launch graphic there. Boy, that grabs your attention, doesn't
It's a
it?
great graphic,
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's from a variant cover for issue 5 for the final issue. And it's by Marco Rudy, who does work for Marvel and DC.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I wish you every success with it, Steve.
Oh, thank you very much.
Perfect. And before we say goodnight to everybody, we'll go around the room and just say where we can find your work. First off, I want to thank you so much for coming on the air and sharing the information about horror, which I love so much, and about scary stories. But Jessica, can you tell us where we can find your work?
You can find me at wickedtreepress.com. And you can also find me on Substack, Monster of the Week, where I'm writing horror weekly, or at least trying to. And then Wicked Tree Press on Instagram and Facebook as well. And obviously the Kickstarter, but yeah.
Nice. Thanks for joining us tonight, Jessica.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Mr. Fish. Hey, what a pleasure to see you again. Tell us where we can find you.
I am Mr. Fish Comics on all of the social medias, the .coms, the YouTubes, every which where. And gomrfish.com will always take you to the latest thing I'm working on right now, which right now is still the Kickstarter for my Fish Tales anthology, which still has late pledges open for a little while longer. So if you want to get in on it or get any of my back issues, they're all available now.
Nice. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Fish.
Absolutely, man. Anytime.
A pleasure. Madeline, so great to see you.
You too. You can find me at bostonmetaphysicalsociety.com or queenofmercia.com. They all go to the same place. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, the thing formerly known as Twitter, sort of, kind of. And of course on Kickstarter for the next 13 days. And I think that's it.
Nice. Thanks for joining us, Madeline.
Thank you.
Steve, thanks so much for coming tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure meeting you and everyone else.
Yeah, man, really stay in touch with me. And can you tell us,
Definitely.
You're going to get the last word tonight. Tell us where we can find your works.
So you can find me on Instagram, Steve Bino Art. You can also find Comics Asylum, which is what we're publishing Atrium through, at Comics Asylum on Instagram, as well as on X. I'm on X, I'm on Threads, and I think Kara as well too. Oh. And then you can also find us at www.comicsasylum.com.
Nice. Thanks for joining us. To the viewers, I want to say thanks for tuning in. This was a fun episode. And by the way, if you're watching next Friday night, here we go. It's the official Ghost Sightings podcast. That's the Haunted Basement. That's going to come on at 10 p.m. It's going to be in the same time slot. So I hope you'll swing by and check it out. Other than that, we'll see you guys out there in comic book land. See you guys.
Thank you.